I almost said good morning, but it's evening. It's definitely evening. 7 o'clock. Well, 7:01. I'm a minute late, but no technical issues so far. Let's hope that doesn't change. Welcome to, I was going to say something sessions, but no, we're calling it Kevali Channeling Presents. It's our first episode of going to be a weekly show. We're going to basically do things a little different. There'll be some times where I do mini readings. Most of the time, it's just going to be interviews with different people in different modalities, different businesses in the spiritual community. So tonight, without further hesitation, I have Natasha Willoughby waiting in the wings. Natasha, I don't know if she realizes how much of an impact she had on me in my spiritual growth. There was one night in particular that I'll get at when I bring her on, because I don't think she understands just how much that one night, and I think she knows. I can see her reaction. You guys can't. I can see her reaction, how much it really meant. So Natasha has just newly started her own business, and we're going to get into that. But first, we're going to get into what actually brought her to this point. So without further ado, let me bring Miss Natasha Willoughby in. Hello, young lady.
Hello, how's it going?
It's going very well. Welcome to this first edition of Kevali Presents on this horrible rainy night in Erie.
Yeah, it's not nice. It's just thundering now, too.
Yes, I just heard it rumble. Yeah. It's like, of course, it's going to rumble. Natasha and I are doing something spiritual. It's going to be rumbly.
And then the power will go out. It'll be a whole thing.
You know what's going to happen. It's not going to be normal.
Exactly.
Oh, too funny. First, let's tell people how long we've known each other. How long have we actually known each other? Have we ever figured this out?
Too long?
Too long? Yeah, probably what, 15 years? 14,
actually,
15 years?
15 years.
Yeah, 15 years. Yeah. Way back when in my old lifetime, where I used to be the manager of a Shoppers Drug Mart, Natasha was one of my very first hires and quickly became my assistant. And then when I left Shoppers, she took over. She ran the store. Then she left, and she was so good that when she left, they had to close the store down.
I swear it had nothing to do with that.
We could go into that. The whole, every time you leave something, it closes down.
Oh.
But everybody, you're going to have to excuse my coughing. I've had a rather busy day doing readings, so my lungs are really affecting me. So I'm going to bear through it. I've got 2 of these sitting beside me that I can drink.
You're set.
And I'm going to get Natasha to do most of the talking.
That works too.
So let's start right at the beginning. No, let's jump forward, because I want people to understand why I wanted you to be my first guest. It was really funny because when I asked Natasha to be my first guest, all she did was laugh. And she said, I knew you were going to ask me. And I was like, really? And she goes, yeah, I just knew. So the reason I wanted to ask Natasha is Natasha had a big impact. Yes, I took training with Ken Lewicki and I took his mentorship. But aside from that, Natasha had a real impact. We went to see, when I say we, Ellison and I, my girlfriend, for people who don't know me, my girlfriend Ellison and I kind of went through this whole journey together. One night, Natasha offered a evening, I think she called it an evening with the spirits, evening on the other side.
Night in the astral realm.
Night in the astral realm. And she unblocked something for me because I knew how to channel. I could channel, but I wasn't able to channel my mom. And it was literally driving me cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. And in a matter of minutes, besides the fact Natasha made me bawl my eyes out, she actually was able to, she does that, everybody. She actually, why did I look over at my closet when I said everybody? That's the other side. The closet is the other side.
Got it.
I swear to God, the grandchildren are going to come here and they're not going to want to sleep in this room.
I was wondering, I was like, oh, who's he got in the room with them?
No, it's the other side. That's hilarious. But she did. She unblocked that and really cleared up a lot of things for me in that short little time. And she just confirmed a whole lot of things. And then watching her and watching what she did and was able to do really kind of put me on my path that I'm on now. So again, I'm not going to get emotional. I promised myself I wasn't going to get emotional. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart, Natasha, because that meant a lot to me.
Well, you're welcome. I was glad I was able to help you with that. So
it was cool. It was a very cool night. If anybody ever gets the opportunity, I don't know if Natasha will ever offer those kind of events again. If she ever does, and you're in the Calgary Airdrie area, by all means, jump on this opportunity, guys. She's a powerhouse is the only word I can use. And she's connected in a different way than I'm connected, and a different way than most people are connected. But let's jump back. I'm going forward. Let's jump back. Where did this all start for you?
Since I was a little girl.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah.
When did you first, what was your first inclination that you had an ability to channel?
When I had a imaginary friend, but it went way past the ages of imaginary friend. And I thought it was just a coping mechanism of mine. So I just went with it. But the fact that the person was answering in my head, and I was like, and I tried explaining it to someone once, and of course they're like, no, it's all in your, imagination, you're a child. But I mean, I was 10 and still talking to this person. And actually, so now I'm going to jump forward. And then I had a session with Ken, and we did a one-on-one for
okay.
Yeah. So he was actually the second person I met in my spiritual journey after Jennifer. So yeah, so I went in and he's like, okay, so I met a secondary guide, and then I went, and then there was someone like bouncing beside me. And you gotta, this was all new. Like this was the beginning of my reawakening. I called it reawakening because I'd already had all these abilities.
Yes.
And I'm like, okay. And so Ken's like, oh, explain her, I knew she was a female right away. And then I started to get like horrible anxiety in my chest, but I knew it wasn't bad. It was just like, I knew I was coming on to something that was going to be big. Yeah, it was my imaginary friend, Shebra, from when I was a kid. And she was my primary guide. And I've been talking to her since I was probably old enough to know what a
guide was.
3 or 4 is when I had imaginary friend when it started.
Really? Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, long time ago.
So through childhood, you had your imaginary friend. As you turned into the teenager, peer pressure, what happened to that imaginary friend?
Actually, it's not a great story.
It never is.
No, I was staying at my grandmother's house. No, don't worry, it's not that kind of.
Okay.
And my hopefully she doesn't watch this. Her house, I loved it, and she lived there with my grandfather for like almost 30 years.
Oh wow.
And it was so haunted.
Oh no.
So haunted. So we were living there, I think it was 10. Yeah, I was 10 years old. We lived there a couple times throughout my childhood. So we were living there in Kelowna, and I was sleeping in the most haunted room. So, and
of course,
but we're not supposed to.
Why wouldn't they put a child in the most haunted room?
Because no one believed me. So yes. I was going to sleep one night, and I could hear my mom and my grandparents watching Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune downstairs. That still happens when I visit my grandmother. And I went to, you toss and turn, and it was kind of dark, but the light down the hallway was on. So I turned, and there was a man standing in my doorway with a brimmed hat.
Oh, wow.
And I actually got full body, I got paralyzed. I couldn't move.
Yeah.
Except for my eyes, and that was and then of course my mind was racing. And I sat there for the longest time. For me, it felt like forever. I'm sure it wasn't that long, but
it was probably like seconds, but it felt like hours.
It did. It felt like hours, and I was petrified. So eventually I did fall asleep, and then I woke up later in the night, and then I noticed the bathroom light was on, and I really had to pee. So I was like, okay. Of course, I'm remembering what happened when I went to sleep, and I'm like, okay, whatever. Everyone's upstairs now. I should be fine, because everyone's bedrooms were beside me. So I went into the hallway, and as I went, this little black poodle walked out of the bathroom. Well, my grandparents don't have a black poodle.
Wow.
And it walked down the hallway and then it disappeared. And I was like, and then for some reason I just felt calm. And I was like, okay, I can go to the bathroom now. And I went to the bathroom, went back to, and then I was fine.
Oh, wow.
So I went to my best friend the next day at school and told her this story. Well, she had a book. Her house, you think my house was haunted? Her house was doubly haunted.
Oh.
I couldn't stay in her basement. There was no way. My skin would crawl every time I went downstairs. So she brought out this book, and sure enough, this little black poodle dog there was a story about how this dog comes out and protects people when there's danger around. And
wow.
Unfortunately, after that incident, I shut down my abilities because it really freaked me out. So I was young. Nobody could help me out. So,
well, of course, you didn't have a Ken or Kim or anybody else that would have been able to say, hey, this is normal.
No. And then my parents going like, no, like, stop. Like,
of course.
Because you're a kid, like,
I can remember it happened to me I've told you the story about having dreams with my dad, and same thing. People are like, you're just dreaming. Stop overreacting. Yeah. And it's like, okay, so you do. It's like, I don't want to talk to anybody else because they're telling me I'm nuts.
Well, no. And then you're like, you're tired of hearing that. So then what happens? You just stop talking about it.
Yes, exactly. And you literally subconsciously, I find out now, block it, which anybody has the ability to do if you want to.
Yes.
So how old were you then? 11?
10.
10. When was your next awakening, I'll say? I hate that word, by the way. I cringe when I say it.
Yeah, I guess I don't know what else to call it, but it's just basically
it's just such a cliche saying.
It is. I completely shut myself down for many years.
Yeah.
So when my cousin, you remember when I was working there, so my cousin Justin got really sick, and I was very close with him. He was like an older brother to me. He was only a year older, but we were very close. And he got sick with leukemia. And I remember we went to go visit him one last time in the hospital, and we knew, like, we were told, like, prepare. So I'm like, okay. So I was actually at work at Shoppers. Kevin was still the manager. It was a Saturday morning, and I was putting up the signage for the new flyer, and I was by myself at the store because we used to do it before the store opened. And of course I was really like sad because I knew it was coming and I was waiting for the phone call. So anyway, so I was standing back in the household section, and all of a sudden my cousin popped in my head, and it was all white behind him. And you got to imagine, I haven't had anything for years. And he waved
decades.
And he waved at me, and then he was gone. And then an hour later, my mom called and said he had passed an hour ago.
Oh, wow. Wow. That's, that would
still makes me emotional.
Well, yeah, of course. Yeah. Of course. Now, in that time frame, though, you were, I'm going to use the word dabbling in spirituality, because if my memory serves me correct, or was it after that you started tarot cards? It
was after.
Oh, was it after? I thought it might have been before that, because I remember you.
Like, I was into it, but I didn't do it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But when he passed and that happened, I was trying to figure out how to get started. But once again, it wasn't very popular. There was not really anybody around yet.
Yeah.
So I dabbled in it. And then my grandfather died 1 year later, and he and I were very close. He was like a father to me. And then I kind of stopped doing it again. It was too much death in one short. And then my dog passed away too, just to throw that in too. It all happened in like 12 months.
That's crazy.
It was like my cousin in May, and then my dog in December, like right before Christmas. And then my grandfather, actually his anniversary is coming up on Friday, June 17th.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
The day before my birthday. My birthday's on Saturday, so
he died. Happy early birthday.
Thank you. Yes. Yeah, so he died the day before my birthday, so.
Oh, that sucks.
No, I
Not
really
now, but then it would have.
No, actually, I actually went out and celebrated for my birthday. Because
good for you.
It's like I knew, because that's the kind of man he was. It was like, no, you're going to go out and you're going to have fun.
Nice.
Okay.
Okay, if you insist.
Yeah, say so.
Not that
So
you drank a lot back then at all.
no, I didn't
No.
party. I was a good
No.
girl. I
Yes,
was
of course
very
you
well
were.
behaved.
Yes, yes, yes.
Well, yeah, and then after that, I shut down again. I did.
And
I completely shut down.
oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, everything shut down. I forgot about it all.
Buried
Um,
it.
yeah, and then but in that time frame, I met my husband, my now husband, and and then it kind of went on, and then I got pregnant.
Is that what really did it for you?
Yeah,
Oh, really?
it was the birth of my son. Yeah,
Oh, wow. Okay.
that's my new. That's where I'm at now. Like I've
Yeah.
once again reawoken, but that hasn't stopped now since. So this time I didn't ignore it. I didn't like. I actually full on pursued. I don't think I could have ignored this one. It was pretty strong when it
Yeah. Yeah, I
happened.
can
It
imagine.
was full blast.
And did you seek somebody out? Did you what did you do to you have
Um,
this beautiful child that you have, and if anybody follows Natasha on Facebook, she posts all kinds of pictures of her son, which is I love watching
yes, I'm a big
your I'll
fan.
say your generation post pictures of their kids because it's so cool to watch. We didn't
It
get
is.
to do that when our kids were smaller because there wasn't
No.
a Facebook, right?
And our
Um,
family's all over the place, so it's a perfect way to
well,
share.
yeah,
Yeah.
I see my nephew's kids in Vancouver, even kids in my nephews in Calgary that I don't see.
Yeah.
My daughter's up in Lloyd. I see pictures of her little one running around all the time, which is cool.
Is she in town? Because I swear I saw her outside the other day.
I can't deny or no,
I was
Amanda,
like,
it was Natasha. It wasn't Dad. She might have been in town for a night. I'm not going to deny that. She snuck into town.
I mean, maybe it wasn't. I think I just waved at a stranger. It's fine.
You've probably seen her little girl riding her that what do they call it? ATV down your street.
Yeah.
Yes.
We were just leaving on our bike Sunday, and I was like, "Oh, I think that's Amanda." Sorry.
That's awesome. She's so cute.
Sorry, my bad.
Amanda, you're busted. Anyway,
I apologize.
So you have this beautiful child, and what did you do?
Not the first 3 months. There's no way. I was so sleep deprived. There's no way. You could have hit me up the side of the head with spirituality, and I would have been like, "No, I'm sleeping.
No, too busy.
I'm tired." It was about when he was 6 months old.
Oh, okay.
So I started to get super anxious, and I've always had anxiety, but this was a different anxiety. It was like I felt the need to go find a new hobby. It's like I had to find myself, and I'm like, okay, I just had a child. He's only 6 months old. Like, I think I'm good.
Why do I have to find myself?
Well, and I did. So I started joining things. Like I went back into roller derby, and then it was like, no, that's not it. And then what else? I don't even remember what I all did. And then it was, so that started in October. So that's when I think I started to reawaken, but I didn't know what it meant. Right. So the universe likes to show you the way, right? So it was January. I don't remember the exact date, but it was mid-January, and I was at home. It was a Saturday, and I was at home with my son, and my husband works. He's a massage therapist, so he works on Saturdays. So we were just kind of sitting on the floor, and I was playing with him, and all of a sudden I see my mother pull up, and she never calls. So, so I was like, I was like tossed. I'm like, oh, Grandma's here. So I let her in, and I was like, oh, what are you doing here? She's like, oh, I got off work early, and I just wanted to come see Austin. I'm like, oh, okay. And then she's like, oh, what are you getting up to today? I'm like, oh, not much. I was like, oh, I heard there's a spiritual fair at the Spirit Within on Main Street. So I was thinking of going when Justin came. And just, I don't know, I just felt called to it. But then I was like, no, why do I want to go to this? My mom's like, well, my mom's always been into this stuff. So she's like, I'll go with you. So not even 10 minutes later, Justin comes in. He's like, oh, my last person canceled. So I'm home early. And I was like, oh, okay. And he's like, oh, what are you guys up to? And then I told him, and he's like, well, go. I'll hang out with Austin, and, you go for a bit. And I was like, okay. So I went. And it was full. There was lots of tables. Nope. For some reason, I had blinders on. I walked in. I could have. There was actually people there that I know now. Couldn't tell you where they were.
Oh no!
Jennifer, she does tarot card readings. So
Okay.
she was sitting like right when I walked in, and I'm like, her. And then, but I was afraid. So then my mom's like,
Of
well, I'll go
course.
first. And I'm like, okay. So my mom sits down and gets her reading. I couldn't remember. She let me stay there, but I couldn't remember what they said to her. So then I sat down and she's like, oh, you have like a lot of spiritual gifts and you should really look into it. And I was like, no, like, no.
What are you talking about?
Yeah. And that's all she kept going on about. And then I remember Archangel Michael showed up.
Oh,
And I mean, back then I was just like, oh, it's all in my head. But
yeah.
I felt cold behind me, and I felt this like, and my shoulders went up because I was like, okay, someone's behind me. Like I'm kind of, and I kept looking. Like,
What's that?
yeah, no one there. And so she's like, I really think you just like your path is to go kind of explore your spiritual abilities. And I was like, okay. So anyway, so she hands me, and she's like, actually, I'm gonna be teaching tarot cards, like how to read them. Like I'm doing
Oh,
a whole
okay.
course. And I was like, well, I did dabble into that like quite a few years ago, and I still have my old deck. So yeah, and then that's where it started.
Oh, wow. So you took a course. Your first course
I'm
was in.
completely certified in tarot card reading, and she taught
Oh,
me
wow. I didn't
everything.
see. I did not know this. This is
Yeah,
something new.
it was my beginning days,
Oh,
and
wow.
I still have my original deck, and
And does she still teach tarot card readings?
you know what? I don't know if she like, because COVID kind of messed up a lot of
Killed
things.
everything.
I'm not too sure if she sorry, I gotta look up her Facebook.
Yes.
I think it's Mystic Star. I'm just horrible at remembering names. Yeah,
That's
so it is so it's Jennifer Rushforth with Mystic Star.
oh,
She's
okay.
located here in Airdrie, so
Oh,
she is
cool.
local. She's amazing. Like we're still in touch. Like
I'm like, plug her, please plug
yes,
away.
I absolutely love her, and I still to this day thank her for getting me on my journey. Because
Oh,
I would,
nice.
so just like you thanked me, I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for her.
There's always somebody that you
Yes.
can look back, and Ken's going to be shocked that it's not him. So if you're listening to this, Ken, I love you, buddy. But Natasha was the one that's kind of
Oh,
made it. I'm going to say that's a good. I just got made it real for me. It
yeah,
was, it was there, and I knew how to do it. You made it real. That's a good way to explain it.
it is,
I
and
got
that's what she
goosebumps.
did. That's what she did for me.
Yes.
And I also have to say, she's not the only one. Also, Robin Sowers.
Oh,
She
yes.
she was actually starting to push me in that, but I was resisting too. But she actually helped me a lot in the beginning days too.
Oh, nice.
And if
Nice.
you're listening, Robin, you still helped me a lot today too.
and there's so
Yes.
many people that we come in contact when you're going through your initial journey into this, that it would take an hour just to list everybody that was
It
part
would.
of your journey.
It is. But those two in the beginning, definitely.
That was your start.
Yeah.
So you took tarot card. That's interesting, because
Yes. It's
it
nothing
was
I offer anymore, but
yeah.
I do know how to do the readings. Yes.
We'd play a game at Christmas time. We when we're with Allison's family, we call it the game, because that's what we call it. It's like where you get a gift, you put a whole bunch of gifts in the middle of the room,
Yeah.
and you hand out cards, and you pick a card, and then you take a gift. You can the next person can either steal your gift or take a gift from the center. I think it was Ellison put tarot cards in this gift exchange. And for
Yeah.
some reason, I knew they were there, and I knew which package I was picking up, and I picked them up. I've never touched tarot cards before in my life, and they're still sitting here. And I'm like, one day I'm going to have to learn how to use those. One
Well,
day.
I could teach you.
You could teach me.
I really could. Yeah, we could
There
have
you
fun with
go.
that one day. Yeah.
So you took tarot cards then, because something else that obviously has happened since you took tarot cards. Not saying tarot cards aren't really cool, but what
Yeah.
you do is cool. I'm going to say cooler than tarot cards. And anybody that wants to yell at me, you can do that in the chat. Just give me crap. Go ahead. But what was your next step? That sounds so bad.
Actually, it was Ken. I met Ken next.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was wanting to connect with my spirit guides.
Yeah.
And so I didn't say who my first spirit guide was when I told that story from before about my imaginary friend. So the first person I connected in with was a secondary guide. And the minute I connected it, like when Ken got me to bring him forward and all that, it was my grandfather.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and actually to this day, he's actually my primary now, but he is still my guide.
Nice. Isn't that cool?
Yeah. It is,
What a
because
connection. That's a
he
cool
literally
connection.
is like one of my favorite people in the world. So I
Well,
feel
it doesn't, I mean, I've done hundreds and hundreds of readings now, and I always connect with people's spirit guides. And I'm going to say rarely is your spirit guide somebody you've lived with in this lifetime. It's
yeah.
not a common thing. So that's really cool that your grandfather is a guide for you.
Yeah, and it makes sense now because after he passed, and then going forward up to when I really got into the spiritual stuff again, I always, anytime I was feeling really stressed or overwhelmed, you know, especially going to work, and you know, I was managing a store and I had like 30 employees, and it was a stressful job.
Yeah.
So there would be times in the morning when it was really quiet and I was by myself, and I always swore he was like near me, and like and I would just feel like all of a sudden like a wave of energy come down over me. I didn't know what it was back then. I just said it was warmth. And then all of a sudden I would just be calm.
Oh, cool.
And then for some reason he would pop in my head.
Oh.
And but now it makes sense because
Of
he came
course.
back. He was my spirit guide then when it was happening. I just couldn't connect with him.
Do you think that area of town, I'm going to say that area of town is
Yes.
I was gonna say electrified, but you know what I'm saying? Because
You've been in that back room when it's like nobody there in the morning.
I have been in that store at 3:00 in the morning. I have been in the store 24 hours straight. I just popped up on my Facebook memories that changing the servers, and the guys had to read directions on how to change the servers. Anyways,
I had to do that once too. Yeah.
they literally like it. It was the spookiest place I've ever worked. I'll be honest. Things happened in that store that you just couldn't explain. So would you agree that different parts of a city will have more activity than others?
Yeah, and it depends on what energy was left behind. That can amplify the area. I'm not sure why. I mean, we know it used to be the city dump way back like 30 years ago, which doesn't say great things, but
what was dumped?
Yeah, I was like, man, that doesn't really explain it very well. I just know that anytime it was okay when there was people around because then you're distracted, but the minute I was alone in that place, and I'm alone, like you're alone in lots of places. The minute I was in that back room, especially the back room, it was like my shoulders went up and the hair on the back of my neck went up.
Yes. I don't know. I don't know if Angie Morris is listening. Angie Morris is a mutual friend who worked as our receiver in that back room. I don't know how long she lasted, as long as she did, because nobody else did.
Yeah.
It was literally people leave at lunch and not come back. It was like, what happened to the receiver? They left for lunch, and I'm like, yeah. Well, they didn't come back, and I'm like,
yeah. Oh,
what did you do to them?
I mean, now we could tune into it. We'd understand it better. We'd be like,
I would love to walk through that building again.
Yeah, I don't know if they're ever going to do anything with it, but
it's empty now. So I was like,
it's been empty. Yeah. Yeah.
We could go in through the eye doctor place.
It's true. That place is still open. Yeah. No, I think sometimes it's just, I keep getting, it's like the mark that's left on that area.
Yeah.
So whatever, and it could have been any time. It could have been 1,000 years ago. It could have been last week. I don't know.
Right? I mean, natives. I mean, this land was at one time.
It was
a settler's land, right? I mean, it wasn't just always a city, obviously.
No, and that's what I mean. It could have been at any time. Anything could have happened on this part.
Yeah.
Of the land. So
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Wow, we'll talk about a woohoo. Let's take that route. So you met Ken. You did a one-on-one with Ken.
Yes.
And you connected with your guide.
Yes, and then connected with my primary guide, who ended up being.
You've never been the same since.
No, and then after that, I had to take all the courses. I had to do all the things, and then plus I was trying to raise my child.
Of course,
a full-time job. It was a busy first year.
So you took channeling level 1, 2, and 3.
You know what? I never took 3.
Wow.
Not in a bad way. It's just, I think because I've been channeling my whole life, I literally picked it up so fast
Yes.
that it's not anything to do with Ken. I think it's just,
And plus, you moved on to something else.
I
You
did.
didn't
And then I
stop.
started taking Reiki. I took Reiki 1 and 2. I took Reiki 3 and Master. Then I took Akashic 1, 2, 3. I took psychic protection. I took everything. I took angel channeling. I took crystal diva channeling.
Hold on. I'm going to go back. I'm going to interrupt. Psychic protection. They want me to stop you and ask you about psychic protection.
It's just about protecting like your energy.
Okay.
Yeah, and then just knowing when, bad energy's kind of coming at you. People's thoughts can cause that too. Like if they negatively, if you ever like are just not thinking about the person, all of a sudden they pop in your head. And
there's usually a reason.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
totally understand.
We've all been there. We've all been there.
Oh,
We've all
yeah.
had bad pickups or
Well, it's funny because there's been days where Natasha, I'll just go, I don't know why. And I stop questioning it. I'm like, I need to message Natasha, and I'll message you something. You'll go, oh, that makes sense. And I'm, no, it doesn't.
Like Friday, when you're like,
Friday's
it's been a weird day today. I'm like, oh, it has. And sometimes I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes I get going and then I'm just oblivious to things. And then I checked in. I was like, oh yeah, that is bad.
It has been bad.
But I fixed everyone up, and it was.
You did. Everybody was better.
Yeah.
Everybody was better because of it. We won't go into details, but everybody was better because of it.
It was just not a good day.
Yes. So, you were running a Shoppers Drug Mart, you're raising a child, and you were now taking all these courses. For what purpose? Like, you were running a Shoppers Drug Mart. I know sometimes you figure you need to be a psychic running a Shoppers Drug Mart.
You do.
But it would have really helped.
Yeah.
What'd you do? What'd you do with all these courses?
Let's see. At the beginning, obviously, I had to work, and
of course.
I don't know. In the beginning, I just was using it to help lots of people, and I was kind of I was doing a lot of my own healing too. After I took all the courses and all my healing caught up, not that it's ever done. Healing is continuous.
Yes.
But a big part of my healing came up, and there was a lot of things I had to work through. So the first year was classes, fun, everything's exciting. And then the year after that was like, oh my God, I ignored all these things because I did. I was like, oh no, that's not fun. I don't want to deal with that.
I want the fun stuff.
Yes. And then once I slowed down and had no more classes to take and no more distractions, then my healing caught up with me. So then for a year, I did a lot of healing.
Oh, nice.
Yes. So a lot, maybe too much. But a lot of things came up. And then I quit my job at Shoppers.
Yes.
It all happened very fast. And then I worked for a spiritual company for a year and a half. Yep. And then
year and a half. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, a year and a half. And then did lots and learned lots from that too. And that was some good experience there for me. And I learned a lot on how and what not to do and how to make things work. But yeah, and then it's just everything just kind of happened. It's hard to explain. It's just like, it's just opportunity came up and you're like, okay. And you check in and you're like, yeah, I have to do this. And you don't know why.
You're just going to do it.
Yeah. And then you do it. And then, okay, so that didn't go well, but you learned a lot and you got a lot of experience and you know now what not to do next time. And then you're like, okay, let's go on with what's next. Like, what's next?
And you really learn to stop questioning when something like that happens and you're like, should I really quit my job?
Yeah.
And then you're just like, no, this is the right thing to do.
Yeah.
And you just do.
I had no regrets.
You get that feeling. I had a reading with a client today and I was really stressing he's switching jobs, switching professions. And I'm like, you will know just by the feel, everything's in alignment. You don't even have to question it. You'll just know.
Mhm.
And he's like, wow, yeah, that makes sense. And it does. You just know. You can't explain the feeling. You can't explain why you know. It's just, you'll know.
You do. And I had no regrets. I regretted
Yeah.
nothing. And I knew if I had regrets, I'd be like, okay, maybe I made a mistake, but I had no regrets. It just went smoothly. And then I was like, oh, I really don't want to finish my last 4 weeks there. And then I got a call, and then I ended up getting emergency gallbladder surgery, and then I had to recover for a couple of weeks. So I was like, okay, let's solve that problem.
I'm done.
Everything just kind of worked out. And then I quit, and like you said, and then a month later, so I quit at the end of July 2020. So this was all happening at the peak of COVID. And at the end of July 2020 was my last day, sort of, because I wasn't really there.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I didn't know the dates.
Oh, yeah. And then a month later, my phone started blowing up at work at my new job. And I was like, what is going on? Why does my phone keep so I look, and it's all the old employees, like my old employees. And they're like, the store's being shut down. Did you know anything about this? I was like, no, I knew nothing.
And it would have looked like you had some inside.
To this day, and if they're listening, I guarantee they still don't believe me that I didn't jump ship before that happened. For me, all that was confirmation.
Yes, exactly.
Because I heard nothing. Like, it was just, that would have been so stressful to deal with, and I didn't want to have to be dealing with that.
So you went from Shoppers, then you went to work for a spiritual company that we're not going to get into the name or anything, and you worked there for a year and a half. But when did you start with the spiritual company? In July of 2020?
August, because I finished July 2020, and then August 3rd, 2020 was my first day.
Interesting. And I say it's interesting because July of 2020 was when I took my first course with Ken.
Yeah.
Right? And that's why I was like, well, that's weird. And it was really funny because I had forgotten about Natasha, to be honest. I hadn't forgotten about Natasha. I hadn't seen Natasha.
We hadn't kept in touch. Yeah.
For a long time.
Yeah.
No communication at all until I booked a session at this company. No. Yeah. And it was an in-person healing session that I went to. And I walked downstairs, and Allison actually said, I think that's Natasha Fortin. And I was like, no, that doesn't even look like Natasha. You're nuts. And sure enough, I walked downstairs, and I'm like, she wasn't nuts.
I know. I remember you walked downstairs, and I knew you were coming.
Yes.
So I'm like, that'll be fun. And I have to admit, I was sitting downstairs to be funny, and I was a little nervous. I hadn't seen you in a while, and here I am. Like, so he walked downstairs, and I was sitting at my table with the laptop getting ready, and he walked downstairs, and I was like, hi, Kevin. And he's like, the look on his face was priceless. It was like,
well, it must have been, I'm going to say, what was your first reaction when you heard that I was taking courses with Ken?
I went into shock for 15 minutes, and I was like, no.
That can't be the same guy.
And then I text Robin. I'm like, Robin, I'm like, guess who's taking spiritual classes? And her response was no, because just to let people know, I met Robin working at Shoppers with Kevin. Like, we all met at the same time. So she's like, no. And I was like, yes. Like, he's taking channeling with Ken. So I remember I was just like, no. And then and I was like, oh my God, he's going to come for a healing session. I just know it. And then
sure enough, I came for a healing session. That's hilarious. Yeah. So fast forward, we're now in June of 2022, and you decided to leave where you were. And what are you doing now?
I'm actually starting my own company.
Nice. And what is the name of your company?
Collective Wellness.
Okay. Did everybody else see that? She looked down.
I did.
She looked down. She had to look down to read the name.
No. I'm not going to lie. I'm still trying to get used to the fact that I run my own company. Like, sorry, I'm just grabbing something. I even have business cards done up, and I still don't believe that I run my own company.
It's kind of weird because when you do that and you go out and you get your own business cards, it's like it's real.
But it still doesn't feel real. I've been doing this since, okay, well, I got let go, and then April, I had to find myself again. I really did.
Yes.
So I took a solid 4 weeks, and I did a lot of healing, and I did a lot of self-discovery. I really did. I worked on
Yeah.
myself a lot. It was a lot of emotions. It was a lot up and down. Um, you know, and I did get let go for a bad reason. So it's
No.
not anything like that. It was just, but I had never been let go from a job.
Yeah.
And B, I had been working at least 2 jobs or a full-time, like, manager job since I was 16.
Right.
I'd never not had a job, and now here I am, like, I was 37, and
What the fudge?
yeah, I was like, "What do I do?" I was like applying for jobs, like, I was like, "Oh, maybe I should just go work somewhere," and my husband's like, "No, stop, like, no." He's like, "We're fine. Like, what are you doing? You don't need to go." I was gonna go work at Starbucks. I really was. I
Oh
was like,
no.
"Oh, Starbucks is hiring." He's like, "No." But it was
Here's your
just,
coffee, and there's someone behind you. You can't see them, but they have a message for you.
yeah, Justin's like, "You can't work at Starbucks. It'll never." That
That
just,
would be cool, though.
it
A
would.
psychic bird,
I
the
just wanted
psychic
free
coffee
coffee.
lady.
I just wanted free coffee. But you know what I mean? That's where my head was at. I had to, so then I realized I had to work through I felt like I wasn't contributing. I wasn't like bringing in money. And that was hard. That was a hard
Well,
one for
yeah,
me because
yeah,
I'm very independent. And
very,
I mean,
very.
very. And, you know, thankfully my husband's a super patient, understanding man.
God, he
Um,
had to be.
he is. He seriously is the best. Justin, if you're listening, you were the best. Best husband ever. And so I had to work through a lot of those things first. And then I was like, what am I doing? Like, I'm like, and then the minute I snapped out of I need to go get a job, a 9 to 5 and work, my phone started going off. And it
Isn't
was
that funny how that
people,
works, eh?
yes. And people were like, I don't know what you're doing, but I really need a session. And are you still doing that? And I was like, oh, well, yeah, I could take you. Like, sure. So, just did it over Zoom and did a session. And then next thing you know, after that, then my phone, and then, so my husband's like, well, you realize this is what you got to do, right? Like, you need to start your own business, like your own healing business. And I was like, oh, I don't know. He's like, yes, that's what you need to do. So I was like, yeah, I know you're right. But it's a big thing to take on.
Well, yeah.
And I was a little hesitant, but then the minute everything started clicking in and people started messaging me, and I hadn't even like gotten my Facebook page up yet. So I was like, okay, I'm coming.
She literally, that's how it happened for her. And I can be I'm a witness. I literally seen it happening. I was like, this is crazy. You're doing everything backwards. You're getting clients and then starting your Facebook page.
I like to do things different from everybody else.
Yeah.
That's been me my entire life. I'm just not mainstream.
So now we have collective
wellness, but my
wellness.
Facebook page is called Collective Wellness and Spirituality. That's why I looked down at my piece of paper.
You added and spirituality after the fact, didn't you?
Yeah, it's just Collective Wellness was like, there was too many Facebook pages, but they were like down in the States. So I want to make sure they knew it was like for spirituality.
Right.
So I added, so with the help of my husband, and he's actually the one who came up with the name too. So
nice. So what do you do?
Right now, till the end of the summer, I'm offering healing sessions.
Okay.
I do 30 minutes or 60 minutes. And then I'm also doing, a lot of people have been asking me to connect them to their spirit guides.
Oh, awesome.
Like just getting messages and,
yes.
Finding out what they need to do. And so those just kind of randomly started coming up and people were asking. I was like, well, yeah, I do enjoy that. I actually really enjoy that. So, so that's all I'm offering right now.
Awesome.
And then in the fall, I'll be adding more services.
Oh, will you? Oh, okay. Awesome. So when you say, I mean, we hear that term so often, psychic healing. You and I get it, and probably 90% of the people listening get it. But there's some people who are actually listening on, and I can check. Yes, there's some people actually listening on my personal page who know Kevin as that political ranting fool that they used to know. And they go, psychic healing. What kind of voodoo crap is Kevin doing? So I don't do psychic healing. But what is psychic healing?
Well, a lot of people know what Reiki is. So,
Yes.
you start with Reiki and it's all no hands, like it's no touch, right? So,
Yeah.
and people that know what chakras are, and it's basically you're helping people clear out lower energy, lower emotion. People store stuff everywhere. So basically, you start with Reiki, and then it really is hard to explain, but
That's why I want
once
you to do it.
surpass Reiki, because you do, the more Reiki you learn and the more you use it, your abilities starting to kind of evolve.
Yes,
So
that's a good word.
they've evolved into me being able to. So I'll just kind of share how I do it.
Yeah,
So basically,
please.
everyone has a physical body, obviously, and then you have a spiritual body that matches that physical body.
Right.
Okay, and it's made up of different, let's call it parts, that help you stay connected in. Everybody's connected in, so everybody is connected into source energy. Everyone can, ground if they try. Everyone has chakras, everyone has spirit guides, auric fields, and you can call it your light body.
Right.
So basically, I picture that in my mind, and I always keep it far away from me. Don't ever pull someone in close to you. So, and basically, I can clear them psychically with my mind using energy and source
Right.
energy.
Right.
And then basically that's another way I can help fix, chakra systems can, sickness or car accidents or emotional is actually one of the big ones, can really throw your chakras out of system. Sometimes they have to be replaced, your grounding system. I do a lot. I can do a lot in 30 minutes. If you book 30 minutes, I can still do a lot. And then an hour, you can just imagine I can do even more.
So if I said it's Reiki on steroids, would
Yeah,
that be a...
it is. It's just
Yeah.
basically you can get to the point where you can start doing things what we call psychically in your mind, and I don't actually have to put my hands on you anymore. I still do a lot of Reiki. It's a good way, especially when they're in person, it's a good way to go over them and just kind of see you can really feel energy-wise what's going off where. And then between the Reiki and the psychic healing, I can, I'm not a conceited person, but I can fix a lot of, now not physical ailments or anything like that. I can help I can help calm them down.
Yes.
So using energy, I can help kind of you're putting a lot of let's say healthy energy back into that person's system. So yes, it does absorb into your physical body, but I can't, I'm not.
Because trust me, folks, if she could fix physical ailments, I'd be healed already. I wouldn't have this problem with my lungs that COVID caused. There's limitations what you can do psychically. And I really respect when I talk to someone like Natasha and others that understand the spiritual field works with the medical field.
Yes.
Not instead of.
No, and I'm a big believer that you still need medical or holistic or however, obviously a naturopath doctor, whatever your mode is. Spirituality is they should work together. And actually, in Europe, there are hospitals that have Reiki practitioners that work in the hospital.
I was just going to bring that up. I'm noticing more and more people as I do more and more readings are stepping into spirituality, A, for healing, or B, as a career.
Yeah.
Similar to, I look back, I'm in my late 50s. I keep saying I'm in my mid 50s, and my guides literally always laugh at me when I say it. They're like, no, you're in your late 50s. I'm like, shut up.
Thanks.
But when I go back to when I was a teenager, early 20s, if you went to a massage therapist, I use a massage therapist because Natasha's husband is a massage therapist, or a chiropractor, they were the voodoo of the medical field. People would look at you and go, you're taking your life in your hands to go see a chiropractor. Yeah. Are you nuts?
Yeah.
right? I'm now seeing a drastic quick switch to where Reiki practitioners and the like, because there's more than just Reiki, there's all kinds of different modalities, I'll use the word, that people are using that are coming into the, I'll call mainstream
Yeah.
practice now.
Yeah.
Just like chiropractors and massage therapists did a decade or two ago.
Well, look at like acupuncture is becoming a lot more popular now,
Yes.
and these are all things that you would have exactly been looked at sideways if you said, "Oh, I'm going to see an acupuncturist." What?
Well,
Why? Like
if
that's
someone tried to do cupping on you years ago, you
yeah,
would have been like, "You're not bruising my back. What are you doing? Get away from me."
yeah. And
Right?
I love acupuncture. So, I mean, I was doing that like 10 years ago, and that's, you know what I mean? So, but now, but exactly, you really had to go look for someone that did that because it
Oh
wasn't,
yeah.
yeah. And it was actually my naturopath doctor who did it for me. He was trained in acupuncture too. So, you know what I mean? So you just, everything's becoming, and now you can find, like, there's a couple acupuncturists just here in Airdrie now, and
Oh
it's,
yeah. And I
yeah,
mean, you look around, if you actually asked how many Reiki practitioners are in Airdrie, you'd be shocked how many people would raise their hand.
mm-hmm.
Because it's becoming more and more acceptable. Alternative medicine,
Yeah.
really.
Well, people are realizing it works.
Well, yeah.
And we're
I mean, you
actually
can't
leaving,
deny it.
no, they're leaving
You
feeling good.
I mean, I've had experiences with sinuses that just I would get sinus infections constantly. I
Yeah.
went to see Natasha at her old practice, and literally since that treatment, nothing. I've not had a sinus. I can't explain it. It's unexplainable. My doctor's like, "Well, you must be doing something," and I'm like, "No, I'm telling you, I just don't get them anymore." I until I got COVID, I wasn't even doing the
Yeah.
nasal rinse. I
Yeah.
know nasal rinse every day, but that's not why. I'm going back a year ago when I went a whole year before I caught COVID and not had a sinus infection.
Yeah.
So there's something to it. Do I understand it? No. Do I accept it? Yeah, because I
Well,
have to.
and I'm the same way. I do it. Like, I'm literally, this is my job. And there's sometimes I'm like, sometimes we're just not meant to know everything.
Well, and do we know how a doctor goes in, medical doctor goes in and fixes your heart or fixes your whatever ailment you might have? I don't know the procedure, but I trust my doctor because
Yeah.
they've been doing it for 1,000 years.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? Reiki has been practiced for tens of thousands and tens and tens of thousands of years. Long
It's just
before,
safe to come out now and, not get like stoned to death or,
or burned at the
or burned at
the
the stake
stake.
in there.
I'm surprised that you, and this might be putting you on the spot, but I'm surprised you're not offering Akashic Records.
There's a reason.
Is there?
Yes, it's something I'm working through.
Oh, okay.
It's not a bad thing. It's just like how I do my healings now. So if anyone's ever been to me before I started my new business, my healings have changed drastically.
Evolved.
Evolved, yes. That's the new word of the day, evolved. So now, with the help of Kelly Voss, she's giving me some homework.
Oh, nice.
And because I was feeling kind of stuck. And I mean, you've done Akashic Records with me. Like,
Yeah.
that was a very strong ability of mine. It still is. It's just different now. So now
Yes.
for the summer, I'm going to be working on my own and seeing what's different for me now. What it is I figured out my abilities have changed in there. So I need to work with them for myself, and then that way I can apply them to others. I've already started because that's me, but
Yeah.
a few healing sessions. But it is different. So I'm supposed to. I've been guided to just put that to the side right now, and then
Okay.
focus.
That makes sense.
My focus right now is healing.
Yes. That makes total sense. Total sense.
Yeah.
where can people get in touch with you? You know what? I'm going to interrupt you before you answer that, because before we went live, Natasha and I was chatting, and she says, "What are we going to chat about?" And I said, "You." And she goes, "We're not going to have enough stuff to talk about for an hour." And I just looked down at the clock, and I was like, "Holy crap, we're running out of time." It's 7:56. We could go on for another hour, but we won't.
Yeah, this is you and I. We could talk for hours.
Exactly. So, what are you, like? I know you're doing some on Zoom. If someone wants an in-person session, are you offering that?
So, my life has kind of changed.
That's why I had to say it.
Yeah. So for the next 3 weeks till the end of the month, I am offering in-person healing and Zoom if you're not nearby, or if you're not comfortable with in-person.
Or if you're more comfortable, yeah.
Yeah. So, because a lot of people still are comfortable with Zoom, and that's, I can do just as much on Zoom. And then in the summer, I'm actually going to Salmon Arm for 2 months to live. For the moment, my life has just been a lot of changes lately, and we're going with it. Yep. Decided yes, and everything has just fallen into place. So I'm going to live in Salmon Arm for 2 months in a seasonal spot in our camper trailer.
She's going to become a camper for 2 months. She's not going to be the same.
No, I'm
camping for 2 months by yourself with a 4-year-old?
Yeah.
Because I was like, your daughter's the same age as my granddaughter.
Yeah, me and my son will be there permanently for 2 months, and then my husband will be back and forth between here and Airdrie because he still needs to work.
Someone has to.
Yes, someone has to. Hey, well, I'll still be offering sessions.
I was just going to say, you're still going to offer sessions.
Yeah. But it'll be limited to just Zoom, and then I'll be back in September, and then I'll be right back to doing in person.
Full-time. And
but like I said, I can do everything on Zoom that I can do in person.
We're probably going to have to touch base in September again, because I'm getting the impression your business is going to be a whole lot different in September than it is even now.
Right now, it's just the beginning.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Like, I'm just offering minimum right now. I'm offering what people are asking for and needing right now.
Yes.
And the theme I've been noticing for the last 2 months is I've been helping people get in touch with themselves again. People were looking for outside guidance. They were asking too many people and forgetting to ask their soul first.
Yes.
Ask your soul first. No one knows you better than yourself. So I've been working with a lot of people and helping them reconnect in with themselves. And that's something
cool. It's really cool, because you did a session with Ellison this afternoon, just out of the blue. And Ellison takes notes, and she let me read her notes. And that was something that she kind of highlighted to me, was connecting with your soul. It's what we even practitioners, we forget to do it. We're so busy connecting with other people's spirit guides, or for myself, spirit guides and loved ones on the other side, that we forget about us. And it's important. I'm finding it's really funny. I'm finding over the last month or two, most of my clients that are coming to me are practitioners that want to take a next step, or people who were like me back in July of 2020, where where do I go? How do I do this? And it's so cool, because it's such a different reading when you're able to get that deep with somebody, compared to just doing a mediumship reading.
Yeah, and literally, like, my newest motto is like, spirituality is not that complicated. People out there are complicating it. It's not that we need to get back. I'm calling it get back to basics. Like, people are feeling so lost and not knowing what to do right now. And it's like, if you know how to, obviously, like, if you've been trained, connect in with your soul. Like, this is how I'm here now. This is how I got from back in April to when I was feeling lost to this moment now, chatting with you on this interview.
Isn't that amazing?
It is. And it's so different. So, but my Facebook page is Collective Wellness and Spirituality.
Yes.
You can also, I don't mind if you go on my personal Facebook page, Natasha Willoughby, and a lot of people message me through that.
Yeah.
So that I'm comfortable with. And then I also have an Instagram, which is also Collective Wellness.
Oh, cool. And your in-person is here in Airdrie.
It is. I actually work out of my husband's. My husband manages his own massage clinic down on Main Street called Airdrie Performance Massage. So between all the practitioners he's got in there, I find a spot for myself to work. So yeah,
that is very cool.
Yeah.
People, if you want to get a hold of Natasha, reach out to her. Trust me, you're not going to be disappointed. She is an amazing, amazing healer. Natasha, man, I love you. Thank you so much for coming on. There wasn't a question when I decided to rebrand and redo this show that I do. The show that I do on Facebook, now on YouTube. There wasn't a question who was going to be my first guest. I'm just so glad you said yes, because I wasn't sure if you were going to be ready. But thank you so much. And I really look forward to seeing where you go. I'm gonna keep track of you. We're not gonna lose touch this time.
No.
Everybody, thank you so much. We're stuck together.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. It's been a pleasure. Next Monday, we have a young lady named Kim Wilkinson. To be honest, I don't know a lot about Kim. Natasha knows Kim. Do you not?
No, I actually just follow her on Facebook. I don't know much, but I'm interested. So I'm like, oh, great.
It was one of those, a suggestion popped up on Facebook, and then my guide's like, you have to interview her. And I was like, well, I should research. No, you don't. Just trust me on this.
She popped up too on my, you should know this person. So I started following her, and it was the same thing. I don't know why, I just had to.
It was just one of those, okay. And she's so cool. I watch her videos. There's like cool things. She's doing some really, really cool things. Tune in next Monday at 7:00 Mountain Standard Time to view that. Until then, have yourself a great week. If you want to get a reading from me, you can go to my Facebook page, Kevali Channeling. Just click on the book now, and you can see all my availability. We will talk to you soon. Take care.